Okay, so this video shows the first number of steps required to go from this plate combined with this plate to give you this composite. Okay, so we're essentially going from kind of a raw JPEG image and we're compositing in the starry sky. Behind that, we call it a mountain range. It's probably sand dunes, and that is giving us the final composite there that we can see. And then we add a couple of curves effects and colorizing effects just to give us a nice kind of ethereal colored look here to match the two together. Okay, so this is done through the use of a matte, and that matte is simply taken from, or simply consists of, this white and black image. So you can see that we've got white that can either make things invisible or transparent, or sorry, either transparent or opaque, and similarly at the bottom. So we've got a matte image, so we can work these either way. We can allow this to show things or hide things. We can allow this side to show things or hide things. But the important part here is that we have a natural edge between the two, between the white and the black, that allows us to composite the mountain range in an accurate way, so that when we go back to cutting out the background, we will maintain that perfectly natural outline of the mountains, which will give us that natural look. Okay, so my composite isn't happening here because I've switched off the effect. Switch that back on. Okay, so we get that natural edge on the mountain range there. Okay, so what we essentially have to do is we have to use the image itself as the basis for the matte, because we want to use the mountain range to create the matte based on that outline of the mountain range. Okay, so we're pulling a matte from the image. Now, in order to do that, so what I'll do is I'll go back a step here and delete that. So we're in a pre-comp basically now at the moment, which is going to be placed inside in our overall composition. Now, we can start with the raw image and then duplicate that. And essentially what we're trying to do is we're trying to work towards that hard white against hard black with the edge. So the first thing we'll do, just to give us a black and white image, change the hue and saturation, just the saturation in this case. So bring that down to 0, and that will give us a grayscale image. The next thing we need to do is we need to start bringing all of these grays around the edge of the top of the mountains here to either white or black. So what we have here is we've got a tonal range that contains many areas of gray, differences in gray, darker gray and then lighter gray. What we want to do is compress those so that we only get white where we have light gray and black where we have dark gray. Curves would be one way of doing it. Levels is another way, and I'm going to go for levels in this instance. And in my levels, I'll compress the tonal range by pulling the whites in, pulling the blacks in from the opposite side, and you can start to see the matte image take shape. So I'm trying to create a matte, but I don't want to push it to the point where it starts to break up along this edge, which will happen if you push it too far. So I'll just bring that area there a little bit down, and that should do me for now. Okay, so the area of particular interest here is around that mountain top, because that's the edge I want to use. Now don't worry about this area here and these areas down here. As it stands, this wouldn't work because we have lots of different kinds of transparencies up here and down here. We want to get the pure black and pure white. So to do that, we need to get our paintbrush, and we're going to literally paint out all of these in white, paint out all of this in black. So this brush is currently set to black. Now I do need to make sure that my paint effect, pull that out there, is set to constant. Now if that's set to right on or single frame, you're in trouble because it will either start animating the brush strokes or you'll only get your strokes on the first frame of video. So constant means that when I paint on this, the paint strokes will stay there for the entire duration of the timeline. So I'm going to get my diameter, push that up. Now, you'll notice here I don't see any brush tool because I need to be in layer view, and now you can see the brush. So this is set to black, so I'll start here, start painting black. Okay, need to make sure that the hardness is at 100, which it is. That means I can go close enough to the edge without worrying about going over the top of the mountains. Zoom out so I'll make sure I'm getting all of that. Zoom back. I don't need to zoom back in. I'll switch that to white. Paint out over those. Zoom in a bit and get a little bit more detail there. Okay. Just move across the image and zoom right in on a little area there, and I'm going to bring the diameter way down. Change it back to black. Just take care of these little bits here. So you can see this is literally matte painting. Just like the old days. This would have literally been done with glass and paint. Okay, so that's now looking the way I want it to look. Now, if you're doing this and you don't see the effects taking place, make sure that you put view and go down to the last thing that you've done, and it should show you all of the different effects. Now, I'll go back to composite view. I have white, I have black, and I'm going to set the blend mode to silhouette luma. Now, with my background checkerboard on so I can see the transparency, I'll see that I've got a nice transparent background and an opaque foreground. Okay, so those two layers are sitting in a pre-comp inside in samples. I'll just switch off that or delete that layer because it's just to show you the original. So you'll see now that down here I have my pre-comp sitting out over the starry sky. Okay, so the starry sky in this case spans the entire area, but what I did was I used a gradient. Let's see the gradient here, simply going from white to black, and then that has been set as silhouette, or sorry, stencil, the other one, silhouette luma, which then has the effect of blending the image from black, which is the composition background, up to fully opaque or visible, and then that sits behind there. Okay, so that's how the elements are placed out here with the foreground composited over the background.